from New Orleans.
Thanks so much for joining. Is there anybody that's new or for the first time there?
No, everyone is here, has been here before.
Great job. Okay, cool. So thanks again. I was told to speak from 11:32 and so on, so I'll do 11:32 and 11:33 if that's okay. But we can start with 11:32 briefly and then move on to verse 11:33 of Bhagavad Gita. If you'd like to share that. Sure. Okay, perfect. Okay, wonderful. Happy Sunday. It was a really sweet kirtan, and the mridanga sounded really nice too. Everything was great. It sounded very clear when you were playing. So again, we're reading today from the Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 11, which is the universal form. And I'll go ahead and start with the Sanskrit, and we'll just skip the synonyms and go into the translation and purport, especially since we're going to be doing 2 verses today. So I'll go ahead and start. It's Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Kaloshmi loka shayakrit pravidho lokan samahartum iha pravitaha ritepi tvam na bhavishyanti sarve evashtita pratyani keshu yodaha. So if it's okay, I'll skip through the synonyms and we'll go into the translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Time I am, the destroyer of the worlds, and I have come here to destroy all people, with the exception of you, the Pandavas. All the soldiers here on both sides will be slain." Purport. Although Arjuna knew that Krishna was his friend and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was puzzled by the various forms exhibited by Krishna. Therefore, he asked further about the actual mission of this devastating force. It is written in the Vedas that the Supreme Truth destroys everything, even the Brahmanas, as stated in the Katha Upanishad. Yasya brahmacha shatram cha ube bhavata odanaha mrityor yasho pasichanam pasechanam kaita veda yatrashaha. Eventually all the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and everyone else are devoured like a mill by the Supreme. This form of the Supreme Lord is the all-devouring giant. And here Krishna presents himself in that form of all-devouring time, except for a few Pandavas. Everyone who was present on that battlefield would be devoured by him. Arjuna was not in favor of the fight, and he thought it was better not to fight. Then there would be no frustration. In reply, the Lord is saying that even if he did not fight, every one of them would be destroyed, for that was his plan. If Arjuna stopped fighting, they would die in another way. Death could not be checked, even if he did not fight. In fact, they were already dead. Time is destruction, and all manifestations are to be vanquished by the desire of the Supreme Lord. That is the law of nature. Again, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Kaloshmi Lokoshaya Krit Pravirdho Lokan Samahartum Iha Pravita Ritepi Tvam Na Bhavishyanti Sarve Evastita Pratyani Keshu Yodaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Time I am the great destroyer of the worlds, and I have come here to destroy all people, with the exception of you, the Pandavas. All the soldiers here on both sides will be slain." Om Gyan Timirandasya Ganajana Shalakaya Chaksar Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadatikam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Guru Prasad Swami Niti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastitya Desatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I couldn't find any recordings of Prabhupada speaking from the 11th chapter, which was interesting. And immediately when I think of this verse, I think of Oppenheimer, who helped do a lot of research and develop the atomic bomb in the 40s. So if you know anything about that, it was a very detrimental process. They set off this bomb in New Mexico. It was successful. And then Oppenheimer quotes this verse, which is very ironic. You know, he didn't have any real conception of the soul or God. He had appreciation for the Bhagavad Gita, but he wasn't so much, he was a little inimical towards religion. And from that bomb, many devastations happened, many people died. So the irony is that he was inspired in one sense by Bhagavad Gita, but still, even after coming in contact with this verse and this knowledge and hearing Krishna speak to him through the Gita, he was able to create something that's destructive. There's no real purpose for the atomic bomb other than to destroy. So I thought that was kind of interesting too. There's actually, I think, a movie coming out on Oppenheimer in a couple of weeks. I don't think I'll see it, but I felt like, wow, okay, interesting. So before we get into this next verse, after this one, the 33rd verse. So he's having some difficulty not wanting to perform his duty. He's got some sort of attachment to his family and his kinsmen. He's got some sort of attachment to a result as well. And this is very intense, you know, especially this one part here where it's saying that eventually all the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and everyone else are devoured like a mill by the Supreme. It's like, okay. So Arjuna, he's just going through this difficult situation of not wanting to fight and carry on with his dharma or his duty. And Krishna is saying, like, what's the purpose of lamenting? You've read the previous verses. I assume you're going in order. He compares it to moths being into a blazing fire. I see all people rushing full speed into your mouths as moths dash to destruction in a blazing fire. So we can have this tendency to think that we're the doers, we're the controllers, and you know, there's some sort of results that we should get when performing certain activities. And that can pull us away from Krishna consciousness. We were just reading something earlier in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Let me see if I can pull it up, about this subject of thinking that you're the doer, and how that can kind of cloud things up. It can cloud up our consciousness. It can pull us away from doing what's practical. Prabhupada said here, let's see if I can find it. I don't think I can find it. Just give me 1 second. Anyways, I can't find it. It's somewhere in there in the 5th canto. So again, Prabhupada's giving us this understanding that there is some sort of destiny. What's going to happen is going to happen. We're not in charge of the outcome here. Even if Arjuna stopped fighting, they would die in some way or another, right? So better to fight, which is what's explained in the next verse. And we take Prabhupada's life as an example. Prabhupada went through so many difficulties in having to expand and establish the Krishna consciousness movement throughout the world. He still carried on with his duty. You know, one of where I personally feel so inspired is seeing some of these difficulties and obstacles he overcame. We were just talking about one obstacle where he was in Mauritius, and he got into a car accident. I believe Brahmananda Prabhu was there. I can't remember the other devotees that were there, but he got into a head-on collision because there was some sort of fog, I think, from the sugarcane in the area. And so Prabhupada, he had his cane and he was sitting behind, I believe, the passenger. He pulled his cane up and that was able to kind of protect him, but he hit his head and there was some blood. The devotees were all injured. The devotees were in a lot of anxiety. And I think the driver of the other car was like a married couple that was, I think, touristing from South Africa or something. They weren't locals, but I believe they flew through the windshield. And so Prabhupada said, Krishna protected me. And when the devotees went back to, wherever they were staying for that day, Prabhupada personally was putting some sort of concoction, some medicine he was applying it to the devotees, and he was helping them. He was serving the devotees, and he remained cool, he remained calm, he remained composed. And immediately he told them to read from Chaitanya Charitamrita anywhere and to do a little kirtan. So that was the remedy, right? So the remedy is Krishna. And we can see that that's the fighting spirit Prabhupada has. And he was very strategic in how this movement was brought up. It wasn't whimsical. He had pure intelligence being empowered by Krishna. So you can take that example of overcoming obstacles. There's so many different obstacles that we may come into contact with when trying to establish a program or our own personal practice. So many obstacles that may come in the way. But if we can stay in tune and we can stay close with these teachings and keep them close to our heart, sadhu sangha, having some devotee association, then these things are very powerful. They remind us of what the goal is. They give us some relief. It's a completely different platform, right? It's a completely different way of seeing how the material energy works. There's a particular letter I found in this regard as well. So Prabhupada says in a letter, you have to fight for Krishna. That's all. That is the secret. That is the secret. If you fight for Krishna, work for Krishna, if you eat for Krishna, if you sleep for Krishna, if you do everything for Krishna, then you are the yogi and you are the sannyasi and you are everything. That is the secret of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. So we see here that due to this sort of attachment that Arjuna had towards his family and his kinsmen, he starts to lose faith and lose hope. And then at some point or another, he asks Krishna to see his universal form, which is considered a material form, is emanating all of the material energy, everything, hundreds of arms, hundreds of heads, teeth, mouths, and he sees everything, the entire devastation in this particular form. But then he kind of he gets overwhelmed by this form, this universal form, and it's not a particular form that devotees are looking for. We're not really trying to find this particular universal form of Krishna because we're serving Krishna with love. So we're not really interested in this form. We're interested in bhakti. We're interested in not the entire manifestation of material energy, but we're interested in serving Krishna with love, as Prabhupada did in that pastime. Even in the most difficult situation of having a banged up knee, blood coming out of here, almost 80 years old at the time, he was able to still see that he had to help and serve his own disciples, right? So that's very inspiring. Prabhupada having multiple heart attacks on his way over from the US or from India to the US. There's a story of Prabhupada going to get some, I think, his books published or something in India. He was doing some work with his literature and he was pierced by a bull. He went through so many different obstacles that he had to overcome. And then he had his moments too. I remember the first time I saw this documentary, the Hare Krishna movie they put out a few years ago, it really struck me where Prabhupada said he would go to the dock sometimes and think about leaving because it was so difficult, you know. You can imagine what it's like for a pure devotee to leave the comforts of Vrindavan and to come to the US and be filled with so much nonsense. You know, you have so many people here that are fallen, meat eaters, malechas, but that's what Prabhupada did. He sacrificed so much, and he's still giving and giving and giving and giving. So if we can just take a fraction of that purity, then we become less interested in the fruits of our activities. We become less detached. It becomes more emphasized on what Krishna wants us to do. So this is a very kind of like dynamic turn in the Bhagavad Gita. The next verse is one of my favorite verses. Maybe we can go into that and then take some questions or comments afterwards. But this entire chapter is really nice, and it ends with, of course, devotional service, right? Krishna says, he who engages in my pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of fruitive activities and mental speculation, who works for me, makes me a supreme goal of his life, and is friendly to everyone, comes to me. So after seeing this entire universal form and being awestruck and being overwhelmed, Krishna brings Arjuna back to his senses. And he says, I'm giving you this divine vision to see this form. I don't show this form to anybody. But still, seeing everything was not enough. Arjuna wanted to go back to his four-arm form and his two-arm form. Keep it simple and original. Understand the love that Krishna is giving us. So if we could just go to the next verse, that would be great. And I'll just read the translation and purport of that one. And then I'll elaborate a little more, and then we'll open it up for any questions or comments or anything like that. It's tasmat tvam utista yasho labaswa jitva satrun bunkswa rajam samridam mayavaite nihata purvam eva nimitam atram bhava savya sachin. So translation. This is amazing. I really enjoy this. I like the whole fighting spirit. It's one of my favorite things. Therefore, get up, prepare to fight and win glory. Conquer your enemies and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement. And you, O Savya Sachi, can be but an instrument in the fight. So powerful, very poetic. Purport. Savya Sachin refers to one who can shoot arrows very expertly in the field. Thus, Arjuna is addressed as an expert warrior capable of delivering arrows to kill his enemies. Just become an instrument. Nimitta matram. This word is also very significant. The whole world is moving according to the plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Foolish persons who do not have sufficient knowledge think that nature is moving without a plan, and all manifestations are but accidental formations. Oppenheimer. There are many so-called scientists who suggest that perhaps it was like this or maybe like that, but there is no question of perhaps and maybe. There is a specific plan being carried out in this material world. What is this plan? This cosmic manifestation is a chance for the conditioned souls to go back to Godhead, back to home, as long as they have the domineering mentality which makes them try to lord it over material nature. They are conditioned. But anyone who can understand the plan of the Supreme Lord and cultivate Krishna consciousness is most intelligent. The creation and destruction of the cosmic manifestations are under the superior guidance of God. Thus, the battle of Kurukshetra was fought according to the plan of God. Arjuna was refusing to fight, but he was told that he should fight in accordance with the desire of the Supreme Lord. Then he would be happy. If one is in full Krishna consciousness and his life is devoted to the Lord's transcendental service, he is perfect. So many gems there. So amazing, you know. I remember one devotee, he told me, just become an instrument. So if somebody's playing the piano and they get up after playing, the whole crowd, do they cheer for the piano or do they cheer for the person playing? And he gave me this analogy. He says, be the piano, let Krishna get the credit. Otherwise, what are we doing? Who's trying to get the credit? So always, that's something that always stuck by me. And I heard that maybe like 12, 13 years ago, about becoming an instrument for Krishna, allowing Krishna to utilize us in a way that we can use all of our abilities and our inclinations in his service. And we become empowered, we become satisfied. This last word here, or one of the last sentences, then he would be happy. This is another very important part of our movement and of our service. Service should be joyfully performed. We have to be happy as devotees. If we're struggling, if we have some difficulties, we have to reach out. We have to find people we trust. We have to take shelter of the holy name. We have to take shelter of our practice. We have to have friends in Krishna consciousness. This has been my main meditation over the past 2 months. We all have our struggles. We all have our battles. We all have our difficulties from day to day. You know, the other day I was out and I was running some errands. We have a Rath Yatra coming up, and it was just like total planetary astrological difficulties. It's like every direction I went, you know, it was just getting shut down. I had to do some maintenance on my car. I had to go run some errands for the festival. I had to get some lawn equipment. And all of a sudden, it was like 4 different vendors said, hey, we don't take card, only cash. So I had to go to one ATM, come back, go to another one. Then the store was shut. And I just thought like, wow, so much difficulty and austerity. I'm not even looking for it. And it's there because it's just a part of material nature. These are the laws of nature, as was just explained earlier. These are nature's laws, right? As long as we're in this material world, we're always subjected to these difficulties that may take place day to day. So that's why it's so important. That's a part of the fight. Saying, okay, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to stay determined. And through that determination, we start to get realizations, we get the experience, then we know what to look out for, and then we can help others. So that's a very, very, very strong point to this verse, is understanding that every day is a fight. Everything's coming from Krishna, right? Yad yad vibhutimat sattvam. All opulent, beautiful, glorious creations are just a spark of my splendor, Krishna says in the 10th chapter. But in that translation, in that purport, Prabhupada says, whether it be beautiful, material, or spiritual, it's all coming from Krishna. So everything's coming from Krishna. The difficulty, the so-called success, the purification, it's all meant for our upliftment. It's all meant for us to understand that we're not the doers, which is what Arjuna is having some sort of difficulty understanding up until this point. Another point here that Prabhupada's making is the speculators, modern day scientists, which we're still seeing, you know, from the time Prabhupada translated this literature up until now. You have these big scientists saying, well, you know, maybe, perhaps, you know, and they're getting all the YouTube time, they're getting all the funding, they're going around to different schools saying, maybe, perhaps, I don't know, possibly. Some people say we come from lizards. Some people say we have no gender. Gender can change. Some people, you know, I've read some really far out research. I don't think I even want to get into it because it's so goofy and silly. But these are things that we have to realize can take up our time and distract us as well. So part of the fight is understanding your enemy. Part of the fight is understanding what we're up against, and we should become prepared. So it's good to know about these things in the material world and how they're influencing those around us, so that way we can help. That creates a sense of relevance in society. Details and principles. So details can change at times, but the principles have to be there. We have to still wake up. We have to become armored. We have to have our spiritual, how would you say? I can't think of the word right now, but we have to take out our armor by waking up, chanting our rounds, coming together, reading, hearing, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, hearing, chanting, remembering, doing some service. These are the things that kind of protect us against those three modes of material nature. So it's a part of the fight. You got to have your sword, right? Some of us have our japa bags. So this verse, I've always really enjoyed it. I like the fighter spirit. And there's so many difficulties that we're going to go through, whether it be with devotees, which are the most common, or material nature. So what do we do when we have issues with devotees? We have some dialogue, we have some exchange, we have some heart-to-heart, genuine relationship there. We have to speak with one another. We have to take into account that we all have our cultural differences. We all have our own different desires, and we have to somehow or another make it work. I see Vatsal Prabhu's on the call. He's just started a retreat center right outside Houston. So we're hoping that we can have retreats for devotees where they can come and they can connect and have heart-to-heart conversations. This is needed. We're talking about being happy as well in this particular purport. So as long as they have the domineering mentality, which makes them try to lord it over material nature, they are conditioned. That's pretty self-explanatory. So we're trying to break free from that concept. Mayi sarvani karmani. So Krishna says, surrendering all your works unto me with full knowledge of me, no desires for profit, no claims for proprietorship, and being free from lethargy, fight. So he's saying this again in the 3rd chapter. We have to carry out our duties with dependence on Krishna, because it's our constitutional position as a living entity, is to be fully dependent and absorbed and surrendered to Krishna. That's how we fight. So any questions, comments, reflections, corrections, feel free. We can open it up here and talk about fighting for Krishna. Have you ever fought for Krishna? Have you ever felt like not fighting for Krishna? Have you ever thought you were fighting for Krishna, but you really weren't? Whatever it may be. Have you had a difficult day this week with your service? Did you have to overcome something? Please share, reflect. Let me know what you relate to. Hare Krishna. I can't hear you so well. Sounds a little muffled.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's a little bit better. A little muffled, but it's a lot better. Now I can't hear you. Okay, there's something there. I can hear now.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Okay. Saying thank you so much for such a nice class, and we really it was very engaging, and we were able to learn how it's really important to know that we are serving as instruments to Lord Krishna. So, are there any questions from here?
Reflections, anybody?
Also from our Zoom audience.
Okay, we have one reflection.
So I like your example, piano and the piano player.
Yeah, that's powerful. Simple.
Yes. Well, my question is very simple. I mean, Arjuna is a big fighter. He's so confident about himself, but he came to a dilemma when he's trying to fight, whether he should or should not. So that kind of dilemma we come across in our life. So that was a good example. That if we have a faith on something, then we should follow that. So I think that was the teaching for everybody, that you know what is your duty, but often you are not sure what you want to do. But I think Krishna helped to understand that, yes, you do your duty. It doesn't matter what. Because Krishna is already controlled the whole thing. They are all dead anyway, or they will be dying in the fight. So Arjuna has nothing to do, but he want to use the Arjuna to do the job so that he can get the credit. Am I right? Or You have some other.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know, Tadvidi Prani Patena, right? We have to have, if you look at any great boxer, they're not just in there boxing by themselves. They have somebody in their ring. They have somebody in their corner. They have a cut man. They have a coach that's saying, when he throws a left jab, duck under and hit him with an uppercut or whatever. So my point is, you have Tadvidi Prani Patena, Parikasnena Sevaya, Upadexyanti Te Gyanam Gyaninas Tattvadarshana. So we have to approach a spiritual master and we have to inquire from him submissively. So if we may not have a guru, we have Prabhupada. Prabhupada's giving us these purports that he spent so much time and energy on. Prabhupada said that if you're not reading my books, you'll be restless. And it's true. I've tried doing it in the past and my mind just goes whoop, and I go, oh, okay, I need to get some nourishment. It's very nourishing to come together, read together, share together, reflect. Otherwise we have that dilemma. It wasn't until Arjuna was submissively giving himself to Krishna that he was able to intake the information. In the 9th chapter, in the beginning, Krishna says, because you're not envious of to me, I shall now impart to you this of knowledge. So yeah, I agree with that point. We have to fight. It's a part of the fight, but I want to emphasize too that we have to have some guide, some coach, some direction, and that's Prabhupada or our gurus or spiritual masters, both. So thank you for sharing that reflection. I appreciate that.
I have one question for you. As you are preaching in Mexico.
No, San Antonio.
San Antonio and a little bit of Mexico. I used to live there for a little bit off and on. I have one friend from Mexico right now, but yeah, a little bit.
I see. So what is the situation in Hispanic countries, Latin American countries? How spread about the Krishna consciousness? Are they paying attention to it? Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. What was the question? Are they paying attention to it?
How is the Krishna consciousness spreading in the Hispanic countries, Hispanic communities?
Let me show you. Proof is in the pudding. Bhakta Aquino, can you come here? This devotee. This is Bhakta Aquino. He's very bright and effulgent. He may blind us all. He's a very sweet devotee. Can you see him?
Yes.
Okay. How is the movement in Latino countries? How is Krishna consciousness? Many devotees.
Yes, so much devotees.
Yeah, he's from Chile and he's staying in Mexico now. There's many devotees. He's in Cuerámaro, which is in North Mexico, and they just built a brand new temple, Radha Krishna temple.
No. It's
Dornitai.
now is Cuadro. The Señor
Panchatattva
only
in Mexico. Amazing, but they're following strictly. There's many devotees in Colombia, Costa Rica. If you'd like to visit sometime, please let me know, and then we can put you in touch with those devotees. This is proof that Prabhupada's teachings are unlimited. There's no time that can limit his teachings. This is for everybody, and it's universal. So we're very grateful.
Yes.
Very happy.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Any other reflections, comments?
Does anyone have any questions or comments from our Zoom audience?
But Sal Prabhu, see, he may have something. I can't hear you. You have to unmute.
How about now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, I'm good. Okay, so you said you like fight, and Krishna is saying fight. Now, of course, Arjuna, he's a fighter, so he has to fight. But Prabhupada would also often say, whatever service, even if you're cleaning the bathroom for Krishna, this is significant. So we could be saying clean, right? Or fight. Although it is always a battle to And we just read today, actually, in a purport where Prabhupada said that actually there's no difficulty, because when we surrender to Krishna, then Maya is conquered. So Prabhupada said, don't be afraid of Maya. Of course, sometimes he said our problem is that we're not afraid enough of Maya. But in this purport, he was saying, don't be afraid of Maya. Just like he didn't say this, but before I've heard the comparison that just like a small child, when his father stands behind him, then he's not afraid of anybody. Although he's just a little kid, he'll go up to anybody and tell them what for. And then because his father's standing right behind him, he's not afraid. Anyway, just some,
Thank
I
you.
guess you call them reflections.
And Vatsal Prabhu has a retreat center. Do you want to tell them about your retreat center that you're building in Sealy? They're in Baton Rouge, not too far from you.
Well, we have a 20-acre facility here that is the Bhagavat Academy. And we've started a retreat center, and we're trying to provide a place for devotees or, regular people. Well, not regular, but conditioned souls. Devotees are unconditioned souls. So to come and get some refuge. We have regular morning program and a small temple room, and we've only been here 3 months, so we're just building the infrastructure. But right now we have a guest house that can accommodate 3, 4, 5 people, maybe. Very comfortable guest house. And we just want to provide a situation where people can come together, like before Bhagavan Narada said, and feel comfortable in their Krishna consciousness and associate with devotees in the process of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaran. Basically, that's the idea. We've already had a few gatherings here with like up to 90 people, 90 devotees, and some college students came and had a very good time at another occasion. So gradually, we're hoping that people will take advantage of this facility. Even if your service, sometimes, we get so burdened with our service, we just need a break and want to go here and chant somewhere else. And that's why retreats have become so popular in this country. And so no reason to have to go all the way to, some exotic island and pay thousands of dollars in airfare and rental and whatsoever. You can come right here to Sealy, Texas, and have the same benefit. Hare Krishna.
Can I put your phone number in the chat if they want to contact you?
If you like, we have a website. It's called bhagavatacademy.com. And my number is there also, an email address, and you can read about our mission statement and vision and whatever. All those things. We have pictures of the current kind of things that we're doing here. Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I'm trying to get used to this whole Zoom thing. So everyone, Bhagavan Narada keeps pushing me to get into it. So I'm trying to get used to it here.
Wonderful.
This center in Chile, in Santiago?
Sealy.
No, Sealy, Texas.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, we're your neighbor. You're in Louisiana, right?
Yes, that's right.
So we're the next state over. Texas borders Louisiana. And we're probably from New Orleans, we're about 6 hours drive.
From New Orleans, 6 hour drive, I see.
Yes.
From Houston?
Pardon?
From Houston, how many hours drive?
Houston, 1 hour, 50 minutes to 1 hour, depending on. Houston's the fourth biggest city in the country. So it depends on where you are in Houston. But from the temple in Houston, it's about 50 minutes to 1 hour.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you.
You've been to the temple in Houston before?
Yes.
Yeah.
North of Houston or east?
I mean, like 1 hour drive from Houston, from the temple.
Wonderful. Okay. Anybody else? before we go? Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Jai Haribol.
I'm so fortunate to get, I think, Peter's ID. Actually, he's a Prabhupada disciple, right?
Yes, Vatsal Prabhu.
Okay.
Yeah, aspiring.
Please give your blessing so we can continue this program. By the mercy of Bhagavan Narada Prabhu, actually, we got you and other senior devotees from different part of the North America. So
Yes, Bhagavan Narada is very merciful devotee.
actually, we had a very good fortune. I think 6 months ago, we visited San Antonio, and then we visited his place. The place he's running the program. So we had a very good time. We did.
Ah. So next time you come here, you pass right by our place.
Definitely,
Going 10 to San Antonio, you pass right by.
we are almost, I think, more than 10 devotees. We visited his place, and and we did kirtan and prasadam.
Yes.
It was great opportunity to run the program. So every house we can make Krishna's temple.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you all actually sacrifice for this movement. Therefore, we are existing all over the world. So I thank you, Prabhuji. And please come sometimes and bless us so we can run program. We are running program last more than 3 years in Baton Rouge. So the people are so cooperative, and they are very eager to accept this Krishna consciousness. So here I see Dr. Sudhir Trivedi ji, Pinky Dhawan ji, Dr. Ravidhan, Rico, and Satyan, the Ranjan, Smriti Rai. So thank you all of them.
Okay.
So all of them are supporting our program. So give your mercy so we can carry the legacy of Srila Prabhupada, who introduced this Krishna consciousness. Without Prabhupada, our life is like a dead. So Prabhupada gave us life, and Krishna consciousness is most precious in this age of Kali. So please support us through attend this program, and you accept this Krishna consciousness, and you will be happy. Prabhupada always saying, chant and be happy. So no any other way. Hare namoiva, hare namoiva, hare namoiva kevalam. Kalo nastoivo, nastoivo, nastoivo gotirannatha.
Yeah.
Only we'll chant Hare Krishna and we'll be happy by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So thank you so much. So Prabhuji, please make plan, visit also in Baton Rouge area.
Sure.
We can serve you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hi.
Keep
Hare
up the
Krishna.
good work. Hare
Hi.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
How do you do this?
So now we will do Arati, the last part of today's